And one of the foreign observers that monitored the presidential election, the American Empowerment Institute, is calling on INEC to improve its logistics during the forthcoming governorship election. The group is urging INEC to ensure that all logistics issues are fixed ahead of the coming election so that the same mistakes are not repeated.
Election violence and malpractices. With the beavers, it was thought that electoral violence and malpractice is over in Nigeria. Despite this innovative device that seeks to ensure that electoral malpractice is totally eliminated from Nigeria's electoral system, electoral violence and malpractices persisted. There were also observed incidences of ballot box snatching and disruption. The swift response of security forces saved the situations in most of the areas where this actually happened. There were no visible incidents of vote buying in most of the units where we observed the election. Non-transmission of results electronically and alleged rigging. Most of the times, the most challenging period in an election is not the pre-elections preparation and the actual conduct of the elections. The most challenging period most times is the collation, sorting, counting, and transmission of results, whether from the local government areas to the state or from the state to national collation center in the case of presidential election.
Well, let's now bring in Anthony Ubani, who is the Executive Director of the civil society organization Fix Politics Initiative. Well, his group has been monitoring, of course, the elections, and you just released a report just this evening. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I've had the privilege of going through your report, which you titled Broken Promises, Breached Trust. And you're asking a question, has Nigeria been betrayed by INEC? So I ask you that question. Do you think Nigerians have been betrayed by the electoral umpire?
The evidence suggests very clearly that yes, indeed, Nigerians have been betrayed by INEC. If you recall, the INEC chairman in November of 2022 came out when there were a whole lot of information in the public space accusing INEC of probably not going to use the beavers and probably not going to transmit results real time as they were supposed to. He came out very forcefully in a press conference, and he made the case clearly to Nigerians that one, that this is something they fought for, this is something that they instituted, and that yes, that they were going to upload results from the polling units real time. Secondly, that citizens should be confident that they were going to have access to these results real time. And he also went further to make the point that they are here to serve the citizens and that they were going to do everything to fulfill their oath. That was the promise he made. Just on Monday again, he came out and he promised the political class and he informed them that everybody should calm down, that they were going to conclude the elections and then they were going to review all of the complaints and see what can be done to address them. Now, after saying that on Monday, Wednesday morning, we woke up to see that a president-elect has been announced. Now, for us as Fix Politics, we have no horse in this race, okay? What is important for us is that the institutions of democracy are able to function the way they have been set up to function. And in this particular instance, the evidence proves very clearly that INEC broke its promises to Nigerians by not actually following its own laws, its own regulations, its own rules. So yes, the evidence shows clearly that indeed they broke their promise to Nigerians.
And this promise, again, never even translated into, you know, a surge that one would have expected in the in the turnout of voters when you compare it side by side with over 87.2 million voters' cards collected. Is this looks like another big minus for INEC and for Nigeria's electoral system or democratic system?
The question of data in Nigeria has always been one that is suspect. When you talk of data, for us at Fix Politics, we're a research-based organization. We're an evidence-based organization. So whatever we are putting out, we're sure is supported by the facts on the table, okay? Now, when you have, go back to 2003, you had about 61 million registered voters. And at the end of the day, you had about 42 million voters actually voting. 42 million actually voting. Fast forward to 2003, approximately 10 years later, you now have about 93 million registered voters. But how many do you have voting? You now record the lowest voting in history of voting in Nigeria, 25 million. Okay, so I leave it to you to ask
you
are
if
that seems to be a credible information.
Okay, so now you have alluded to the fact that our data might be faulty. Are you saying the data with regards to the number of registered voters is something we should look into? Do you think there's something happening there that is quite curious?
What I can tell you is this. Every Nigerian who is objective could see clearly that in this election, there was tremendous enthusiasm. There was tremendous energy. North, south, east, west. People came out. And there are a number of reasons for that energy. One, of course, is the promise of INEC, that they were ready and that they were going to ensure that everybody will be able to vote. And more importantly, the INEC chairman promised that their votes will count. It's on tape. That gave people a whole lot of confidence. Secondly, there's the question of having the 3 tribes fully represented. You had major tribes, you had Atiku, Fulani, you had Bola Tinubu Yoruba, you have Obi Igbo, and then you have, of course, the question of the Muslim ticket, which kind of accentuated the interest of the Christian community. So there are many people have different reasons. And of course, finally, you had the bad economy, the hunger in the land, the disillusionment, and all the challenges. The Naira redesign, the fuel scarcity, all of these pains persuaded people to come out. People wanted a change. You could see that. You didn't have to have the data to know how many people precisely came out. But I can tell you from where I sit, looking at what we saw on TV, what we saw at the polling units that we went to, that the number 25 million voted across the whole country is very suspect.
And the suspicion here, I don't know if your report has been able to capture that Nigerians voted along ethnic and religious lines.
We don't.
They really vote issues.
We don't believe they voted along ethnic lines. In this particular election, we believe they voted specifically for competence, for character, and for capacity. And that was specifically driven by the fact that the last 8 years has been a period of horror. It has been a period of disillusionment. You are a citizen of this country. Your country has been dubbed the poverty capital of the world within the last 8 years. Your currency has dropped from about 150, 180, now chasing about 800 to $1. Food prices have skyrocketed beyond the reach of the ordinary man. Unemployment is at a crisis rate in this country. All of this convinced citizens that they really needed to go out there and look for somebody who could steer the ship of state in the right direction.
And one would have thought would have seen more voters, you know, with all of these issues that you bring. Because even Christian was optimistic that we might go up to 50%, if not more. But I want to go back to your report. You have actually cited section 50, 52, 63 of the Electoral Act and even INEC's guideline, and you're saying INEC has failed on its own law. But at the end of the day, we do have another election coming up in 10 days' time. Right. So these broken promises that you're talking about, help us itemize them in particular order, and what you think we can be able to do right now
if it can be
before
amended.
That election, so that way we don't have these issues cropping up again. Do you think we can fix some of the issues? So let's start with the issues.
Yes, we can fix some of the issue. If you look at the statement we just put out today, we had made some recommendations, and some of the recommendations we've made is for INEC to go back and review some of these gaps that have been mentioned. We had about 2 or 3 guests before I came in here. Every one of them was almost saying the same thing, as if they had a conversation, and they were coming from different states. Everyone you've had on your program has made the same statement, that INEC failed Nigerians in this election. And the most significant issue that everyone has focused on is the question of uploading results in real time. And you wonder why, after all the promises, after all the fight civil society engaged in to ensure that the Electoral Act 2022 was passed, with all of the innovations that were included there, and we were hopeful that this will be the best election probably after the 1993 elections. But today, we are now looking at an election which will compare as one of the worst we've ever had in our history.
So how can we
having
fix
put
these
about 400 billion
challenges?
naira on the table.
So
one is for INEC to immediately take steps. I mean, they have the law allows them 7 days to be able to review its decisions. So that's significant opportunity for them to go back, review some of the gaps, look at the complaints that is coming from left, from right, from everywhere in the country. Everybody's complaining. Political parties, voters, candidates, agents, everybody is dissatisfied. Reviewed all of those issues and come back. Look at it vis-a-vis the results that they have declared and find out where and what has gone wrong and see what remedies they can put in place. And of course, there's no, we can't overemphasize the fact that there are lessons to be learned from this election, on the basis of which we can have some improvements in March.
Absolutely. Thanks so very much, Anthony Ubani. It is the Executive Director, CSO, Civil Society Organization Fix Politics Initiative.